Right, next up, we are going to have a fireside chat talking about Chinese outbound investment with Zhaojin International Mining, their Managing Director and CEO, Liu Zhao. On the program, there are another couple of people who were supposed to be here, but unfortunately, last-minute events have called them away. So I will be taking them off my Christmas card list, but we're delighted to welcome Leo here today. So I'm just going to move down to this, this chair here to have a little chat. So Leo, thank you very much for joining us today. We've got the two Leos head-to-head, united at last. To start things off, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be CEO of Zhaojin International?
Okay, first of all, I feel very great honor to be here and invited by another Leo. My first name also Leo is also interesting coincidence. And my background, my major in international project management, and that means is EPC sector. After graduation, I worked for another China Central SOE called China Ferrous for 15 years before joining the Zhaojin Mining. I started my career in the EPC sector. I work in for two big projects. First one is in Iran, in the Middle East country, and we are at that time China Ferrous is the main contractor for that project, and we do all of the engineering and export all of the mining equipment to that country. So it's a fantastic project. Another project I experienced in Vietnam. It's another complex, copper complex, and they use the concessional loan from a policy bank of China. And in 2008, I was transferred to the investment department of China Ferrous. After that, I experienced a lot of investment deal in mining industry in Australia. So in 2015, I jumped out of China Ferrous and joined Zhaojin Mining. And I established the investment platform for Zhaojin Mining 3 years ago. So currently, we are focusing on the gold assets all over the world. This is my background.
And what was the transition? Why the transition from copper, base metals at China non-ferrous to the gold sector?
Actually, you know, I'm not major in the mining technical side in mining industry. So for me, the business is similar. And when I work in China Ferrous, we are focusing on the base metal like zinc and lead. And the China Ferrous has a exploration team, an EPC team, EPC experience as well. We have a big investment in Outer Mongolia. And in summary, we have a very full production chain in zinc and lead industry. Similarly, we can copy the success model to Zhaojin Mining, because Zhaojin Mining also has a very good full production chain in gold sector. We can make investment, we can do the EPC project management, and we can do the trading. We have a refinery and a smelter in the Zhaojin Mining. So I think the business model is similar. So thanks for the headhunter. I have another chance in the Zhaojin Mining.
So what was your original background? What was your degree in, or in finance, or?
My major in the EPC, the International Project Management, plus MBA.
Oh, fantastic.
MBA, yes.
Where did you do your MBA?
In my idea, I like to do the business. I think the MBA is focusing on how to integrate the useful resources together. No matter it is a mining industry or other industry, I think the business model is similar. So that's why I got the MBA.
Was that in China or overseas?
In China, in Tsinghua University.
Right.
Yeah, I graduated from MBA 10 years ago.
Okay, yes. Excellent. And tell us a little bit about Zhaojin, the parent company. How much they're producing at the moment, and how they've performed over the last year.
Well, the Zhaojin Mining is top 4 Maybe it's ranked as the fourth largest gold company producer in China. And the Zhaojin Mining is listed in Hong Kong in 2006. The annual production of the gold production is about 650,000 ounces. And the total resources is more than 40 million ounces. 40 million ounces. And most of the project is located in China, mainly in the Zhaoyuan city. Zhaoyuan city is a small city, but it's very famous for gold production. Can be traced back to 2,000 years ago. We can compare this city as the Kalgoorlie in Australia, as old city, old gold mining city. And our largest shareholder is Zhaojin Mining Group, owning the 33% of the Zhaojin Mining. The second largest shareholder is also another famous capital investment company named the Fosun. The Fosun is a very global partner, owning the 25% of the Zhaojin Mining.
And so the purpose, and Zhaojin International Mining, how does the structure work there? What's your sort of main aims, goals?
Okay, and the Zhaojin International Mining Company is a subsidiary of Zhaojin Mining, and was established 3 years ago by myself. And you know, when I jumped out of China Ferrous, the Zhaojin Mining have no very clear strategy of how to make the Zhaojin Mining international and how to make overseas outbound investment. So I established my team and recruit the right people for this platform for about 3 years. So this is the background of the Zhaojin Mining. So Zhaojin International, sorry. Currently, the Zhaojin International Mining is mainly responsible for the outbound the mining investment for Zhaojin Mining.
And does the money for the outbound investment come direct from the parent company, or do you raise money elsewhere?
Yeah, well, we raise the money from our parent company listed in Hong Kong, and we would like to make full use of the financial hub in Hong Kong to raise some more capital to make the bigger acquisition overseas.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about some of your deals. Give us some examples of deals you've done. What have you been up to since founding? What have you invested in?
Okay, before talking about the deal we have done in the past 2 years, we would like to express our strategy first, because the deal is related to our strategy, the first strategy. The second strategy is after making established some confidence in the financial market, and we start the second steps of strategy, like the strategic investment. And the last year is a very exciting year for Zhaojin Mining. We did 3 deals in that year. The first one is we participated in the IPO of an Australian company named Nusantara. We acquired 3.8% of the shares of the whole company. And it's a very interesting. This company owns a gold project in Indonesia. Indonesia is also belong to the Belt and Road Initiative of China. So I think through this strategic investment, we can link the Nusantara, an Australian company, to the Belt and Road Initiative, and making full use of my experience in the past in EPC sector. So another important reason we invested in the Nusantara is that the biggest shareholder of Nusantara is a very famous institution named the Line Selection, based in Melbourne. So that's why we push hard forward of this investment, although the money is not big. The second deal happened in Canada. We established funds in Canada, and this structure of the funds is a co-GP. The local partner named the Gravitas as one GP, and the Zhaojin Mining is another GP. I think the co-GP structure can make the two party not in the opposite side, they are in the same boat. The Zhaojin Mining put 10 million US dollar in that fund, and the Gravitas put 5 million. We put 10 million. And after that, the Gravitas can make full use of the local resources to leverage another 15 million for these funds. I think the advantage of funds is, first of all, we can make investment from the secondary market or participate in a small placement, make a test in the company. If the company's project is good, maybe we can continue to be the strategic shareholder of that company.
Is the Gravitas deal kind of an extension of your initial step, where you were investing in a small way on the markets?
Yes. Yeah.
And when you say, you've got sort of 15 million, you're saying to start with, and then another 15 million locally. How many investments would you plan to make out of that, and how big would they be?
It depends. First of all, we can form a portfolio, including several the investment. Maybe for some early stage project, maybe we can put small money in there. And if it is the advanced stage project, maybe we can put more money, like 5 million in that company, just to have a test water.
Sure. And how early stage can you go? I mean, what is your sort of sweet spot for investment?
Sorry.
Well, how early stage do you go? Would you invest in a grassroots explorer, greenfield explorer, or are you looking for companies a little bit more developed?
Okay. Generally speaking, we are focusing on the more advanced stage, because in the past 10 years, a lot of Chinese company acquired a grassroots project as proved a failure. So the investor became smarter than now. So we are focusing on the advanced stage project.
And just to go back to Nusantara, you mentioned the Belt and Road, the fact that Indonesia is in the Belt and Road. Is that a sort of key part of your strategy going forward, to look at more investments along the Belt and Road? Or, you also have investments in Canada, obviously. How far does the Belt and Road extend?
In the Congress, in the last year, the Congress meeting in China, and the Belt and Road Initiative was clearly expressed in the Constitution. So what I mean is, what is the Belt and Road Initiative stands for? It's about the sharing good experience in the Belt and Road country. The Belt and Road area covers 65 countries and occupied the more than 60 GDP of all of the world. So I think this is the areas of very economical active. So this is why the Chinese government is focused on this Belt and Road. And that China has got very great success in the past 40 years reforming and opening up policy. We got a lot of experience. We would like to share this kind of experience with a Belt and Road country. And as well, we can export high-quality equipment, low-cost and high-quality equipment, and advanced technology to the Belt and Road country. As well, China led the process of establishing the AIIB to put more money to funds in the infrastructure of the Belt and Road, to establish the pipeline of all of the region, to make full use of the resources here.
So all of your strategic investments, they'll include, as well as the financial investment in the company, they'll also include some sort of EPC work and equipment. And you'll also bring in other partners from China, such as the development bank, to work on the project. Is that
yeah?
Correct?
I think this concept. I thought about this concept for 4 years before leaving the China affairs, because what I'm thinking about is how to integrate the useful resources through the whole production chain. not only the investment is investment, exploration is exploration. We would like to do everything to, along the production chain. And, but we have got some success in this kind of integration resources. For example, and we participate in the IPO of a Nusantara, became the shareholder of Nusantara. So after that, I just integrate the useful resource engineering company for Nusantara, because I saw that the project is located in Indonesia as a Belt and Road country. So in this area, the Chinese elements can exert more advantage in this area. So that's why we have a frequent discussion with the CEO of Nusantara, say, we can, if you want to get a lower capex, please come to us. I can introduce reliable network we have accumulated in the past 30 years when I work for China and Ferrous. So I think this is a strategy of integrate the useful resources. Yeah.
But are you limiting the partners you'll work with? You're not limiting it to just Chinese companies. Mm-hmm. You will also work with other local partners, other local EPC contractors, or is the strategy to primarily work with Chinese companies?
I think it depends. It depends. For example, if we talk about the EPC project management in Australia, we must use the local construction partner, because the local partner was much more familiar with the technical standard in Australia. Yeah, but the Chinese elements can still have their advantage, but we need more communication. A better communication can make a better deal.
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about your Sabina mining, Sabina gold and silver investment.
Yeah, the Sabina deal what happened in the end of last year. We closed this transaction in early of this year. The Zhaojin Mining invested in the 66 million Canadian dollar in the Sabina and become the largest shareholder of the Sabina, owning 9.9% of Sabina as a strategic shareholder. So what we are looking to is the high quality project in Sabina, and the project is located in the North Pole, 6 grams per ton, and open pit. So in my view, this project is ranked top 3 project as development project in the world. So I think this is a very good opportunity for Zhaojin Mining to go overseas.
What's their production going to be looking like? 6 grams per ton open pit sounds pretty good. But
yeah, the future's annual production can be reaching 250,000 ounces per year. It's a very perfect project in my mind.
Sounds good. What's the catch? You say it's in the North Pole? Is it northern Canada?
It's a North Pole, yeah. And actually, we have a kept track on this project since 2 years ago. But at that time, the project of Sabina still faced challenge. The first one is permitting issue with the local people, with the First Nation people, and the Sabina spent more than 200 hearings with the local people. And finally, they successfully reached agreement with local people. So this project has been de-risked. The second one, the challenge, is the logistics. Before we make this investment, we also suspicious of the logistics issue, but our team pay a visit to another operation mine in the North Pole owned by other big company like Agnico Eagle and TMAG. We found the Canadian company really have experience to deal with this challenge. So that's why the Zhaojin Mining finally make a decision to be the shareholder of Sabina.
Can the project be worked on all year round?
Yes.
And which province is it in? Is it
in the Nunavut?
Oh, no.
Nunavut. Yeah.
Fantastic. So looking at sort of Chinese outbound investment over the last few years, what are the lessons you think you can learn from previous maybe failures, successes, and apply that to your relatively new business at Zhaojin International?
According to some related statistics, in the past 10 years, more than 85% of the mining investment done by Chinese company is not very successful. So I think we need to get more lesson from this. In my idea, there's some reasons for this kind of failure. The first one, the Chinese company sometimes cannot have a very good communication with the local company. So, you know, before making this kind of mining investment for Zhaojin mining, I always think about one question. If this project is perfect, it's a beautiful project, why the Canadian company or Australian company spend a lot of time and take a very long way to come to China to find the right partner? So in the past 10 years, I found most of this project maybe was introduced by some a middleman agent or investment banker as well. The most of Chinese company have no experience how to do the business with the Western people. But sometimes the middleman say, okay, the time is very limited. If you want to do this, you must be quick. So in the last minutes, they make a decision to make an investment. But after that, they found, oh, the management is totally different with the Chinese company. The culture different, and some of Chinese team cannot deal with the cross culture very well. So finally, they divorce again.
What sort of problems were happening in terms of cross-cultural misunderstandings?
There's a lot of questions. You know, for example, very simple example. The Chinese people like tea, like drink tea. The Western people like drink coffee. The coffee is a life for Western people, but tea is the whole life of Chinese people. So, but sometimes we need some people from China can switch from these two kind of different culture. And when you have a discussion with the Western people, maybe you need more logic, you need more plan, and you need to drink coffee. But when you come back to China and persuade to a high level of a Chinese company, the leader of Chinese company, you need to say the same words with the Chinese company. So it's a different culture. So I think in China, we lack the people can switch between these two different cultures.
So where are you finding people who can switch between different cultures? Are you making an effort to sort of hire more people who've done MBAs overseas and things like that?
It's when I joined the Zhaojin mining, it's a really tough process to finding the right people. But in my idea, firstly, as a leader of this platform, you need a very, very useful, very rich resources in the mining circle in the past, accumulated in the past. So fortunately, I have a lot of friends in this mining circle. And we chat each other, catch up very frequently. They know what Leo want, what kind of person Leo want. So finally, when I jump out of China Affairs and join the Zhaojin mining, where I can easily to approach them to looking for the right people.
You mentioned earlier that the investment banks had been sort of pressuring companies to make deals and maybe putting deals their way that weren't as good as they would want. Maybe has there been a sort of as a result a lack of trust now between investment banks and some of the Chinese outbound investors? Are they trusting their bankers now?
I think partially, part of them. In the past 10 years, the most Chinese company have no experience in dealing with the outbound transaction. But I believe now the Chinese company become smarter than before. So in my view, the investment is always luxury, not a necessity. So currently, we don't need to go to the other countries to take the resources, to take the transaction in rush. We need to think about very clearly, very peacefully, what strategy we have, what do we need. Do you want to earn face or earn money, or earn face and money? You need to think about that very clearly before making the real transaction.
I guess if you earn money, you gain face. So money first, you're saying.
Yeah, I think business is business, and the earning money is the first priority.
So what would be your key, if you were talking to other outbound investors, what would be your key suggestions for how to approach making an outbound investment?
Firstly, we should have a very clear strategy. I think what is a strategy? Some people say you must design a strategy, but I think it's not right. You need more practice and earn money and earn success before you're setting up your strategy. So most of the Chinese companies have accumulated success and failure experience in the last 10 years. So we should now we can have a very clear strategy. What do we want in this kind of transaction? This is my suggestion. So, like Zhaojin Mining, we set up the 3-step strategy, and we fulfill the strategy one by one, not in rush. I believe if at the beginning we copy the model like the Zhaojin Mining did, and approaching big project in the very competitive market, I don't think the Zhaojin Mining can catch up the schedule or the pressure from the investment bank. It's a failure. It will be potential failure. And if nothing happened for Zhaojin Mining within 2 years, the whole team is unstable. They will say, okay, bye, Leo. I will go to other platform and work for other company. It's a really disaster. So the strategy must be the step by step, not one-off strategy.
So what are the next steps for Zhaojin? What's your plan for 2018, 19?
You know, the Zhaojin Mining is a listed company in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong is a financial hub in the world. So I believe most of the investors in Hong Kong maybe is not really have a clear mind in how mining industry operate. They just look at cash flow, the robust, the profit. So since the Zhaojin Mining is also a listed company, maybe we should satisfy the appetite of this kind of investor. So in this year, we are looking for some production project with a cash flow and profit.
Do we have any questions for Leo? We've got a microphone over here. Andrew, let me bring the mic to you.
Yeah, well, as a Sabina shareholder, we agree. We're delighted to have Zhaojin on board, and I think bring a lot to the party on what's a very exciting project. What are your thoughts about going into your focus intelligently, reasonably to date on 2 of the best and 2 of the safest mining jurisdictions, namely Canada and Australia? I accept that Indonesia's. Anyway, your own backyard in Canada. What are your thoughts about going to more difficult places, particularly Africa, which is a fantastic place for gold? It's not always such a great place for human beings and foreign investors. Do you have a view on that, on Africa?
Yeah, maybe I just express my own view. In my idea, the Canada and Australia as the main advanced mining market in the world. Actually, in the past 2 years, the Zhaojin Mining is focusing on these 2 markets. We're just looking for the right partner in these 2 markets, because I think the jurisdiction risk in these 2 countries is very low. the information as a public, very transparent. If we compare with some project in the Africa country or in Central Asia, even in some project in China, the document, the data room is not complete. So it's very difficult to investor to make a right decision in very limited period. So I personally prefer to cooperate with the partner in these two countries. But we also prefer the project is located in the third world country because the company is listed in TSX or ASX to ensure the document, the information is transparent, is correct. But if the project in third world country, like in Ghana, in the Mali, in the African country, in the Central Asia, or in the Southeast Asia, the Chinese company as a partner can make added value to that project. And regarding the African country and the other high risk, so-called high risk country, it depends which country. In African country, I think the Zambia or in Tanzania or in the Western Africa, maybe it's safer than other area. Yeah, we also looking for some good project, but this kind of project must enter the frame between the two countries. Yeah, this is my answer. Thank you.
Fantastic. Any more questions from our audience there? It's a very good question, Andrew. If not, that's been a fantastic, fascinating insight into Zhaojin International Mining. Thank you very much, and good luck with all your strategy going forward. Thank you very much for joining us. Can I have a big round of applause for Liu Zhao, please?
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.